What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Stocks with Mike and Tom show. We have some big things to go over in today's video, including Tesla stock, Elon Musk news with Twitter, we have giant news with Disney, American Airlines, and of course, Snapchat's earnings, because they are all over the place in after hours today. We have a very important video. Stocks are going crazy. It was a bloodbath in the market today for so many stocks, and we have some of the best placed for tomorrow. So make sure to stick around to the end and let us know what stocks you are watching in the comments down below, and we'll probably cover them in tomorrow's video. But Tom, tell us about these Snapchat earnings. The stock is all over the place.
Yeah, like you said, today was a bloodbath, and Snapchat continued lower here in after hours. Hopefully the stock comes back, Mike, because the numbers were actually pretty good. So actually, we can see that on the CNBC article here, they have a lot of awesome numbers. The thing I really was happy, Mike, is that their daily active users came in over the expectation. So their global DAUs came in at 332 million versus 330 million expected, and the revenue per user came in at $3.20 versus $3.25 expected. So that was up or down slightly on the expectation, but up 16.8% year over year. So Mike, the year over year numbers are looking pretty good. The revenue did come in just under expectations along with the EPS, but I really am happy to see those daily active users up, even though the average revenue per user went down. And as we can see, their stock is tanking down here in after hours, but it is starting to come back. So I wonder where this one's going to open up tomorrow.
For sure. So I thought that there were a couple notable points from the CNBC article. We can see in that second paragraph, it says the Snapchat CEO blamed some of Snap's issues during the quarter on macroeconomic conditions, including advertisers who paused their campaigns after the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February. And if we scroll down a little bit more, we can see that the Snapchat CFO said that the other conditions affecting advertising customers included supply chain disruptions, labor shortages, inflation, and the impact of rising interest rates. So what I think is pretty interesting here is a couple things is one, how Facebook and other companies like that have been struggling a little bit to grow their daily active users, while it appears Snapchat is doing a fine job at growing. Like Tom said, their daily active users are up around 18% year over year, but then the problem with that, though, it's just like the revenue isn't as good as everyone was expecting to be, especially when you have that increase in daily active users. And just like the CFO said, it has to do with supply chain disruptions, inflation, and a bunch of things like that. But overall, the market is I don't know. It looks like it's digesting this one in a weird way because it's coming right back up.
Yeah, it is so far, and now it's all the way back down, believe it or not. It looks like on the 1 minute chart here, it's just going all over the place. So I wonder where this one's going to end up tomorrow. Mike, it'll probably be another theta burner where it'll probably end up opening around like $28 or something like that and just have a huge IV crush and hurt both calls and puts. So I don't know how it's going to go, but hopefully it ends up opening better than worse. And Mike, this is going to be important because I feel like this is maybe foreshadowing what some of these other social media companies are going to look like with earnings here because, they're not beating on revenue by a lot. The active users were up slightly, but, those numbers just weren't the best. And, we might see this happen with Facebook, maybe with Twitter over the next couple weeks too. So it's going to be very important to look at these earnings. And Mike, as we can see, Snapchat's down in after hours, but like we talked about, a lot of stocks fell today. Facebook is getting really volatile here in after hours too, kind of moving with sympathy with Snapchat here. You can see even Facebook fell off, but man, Facebook had a tumble today, down 6%. We had lots of stocks drop. Plug Power, Mike, was down 14%. Like today was just crazy with the selling pressure.
Very true. So let's talk a little bit about Disney. I know you mentioned selling pressure, and this stock has been struggling quite a bit lately. And I know that there's a lot of controversy going around with Disney. So what's happening?
Yeah, you can see on the daily chart here, they're making new yearly lows all the way down to 121.28 now. They just broke below a big support at 130. And, the intraday movement today, like you said, was terrible. But man, this is just really bad news with Disney, Mike. So apparently Florida Republicans voted to dissolve Disney's special district And honestly, Mike, this is going to set up a big legal battle, but this is going to pose some challenges for Disney. Disney has been under a special district in Florida for a while now. Now that they're getting rid of this, they're going to have to probably end up spending more money in a lot of different ways. Keep in mind this special district is pretty in depth. Keep in mind there's a lot of stuff going on with this, but in the end, it's going to hurt Disney. And it's just not good to see the state kind of going against them. There's been a lot of political fallout lately between Disney and Ron DeSantis. And I know there's a bill called like the Don't Say Gay bill. We're not going to get into anything like that because, it's obviously overly political, but in the end, it's not good to see Disney doing this, Mike. And, it looks like their stock's falling off. And I'm curious to see how low Disney's going to get here over the next couple of weeks. They do have earnings coming up too. And with the way Netflix fell off, I'm definitely going to be worried about Disney in the short term.
Yeah, I know all of Disney's special privileges in Florida has been extremely beneficial to them over the years. And if they end up losing those privileges, it'll definitely be pretty tough. So that's very interesting. The stock's tanking down, but like you said, it'll probably be a giant legal battle that goes on for some time. So we'll see what happens. On another note, Tom, I know that American Airlines and some of these travel stocks are looking pretty good. American Airlines closed up around 4%, and they were actually up like almost 10% at market open.
Yeah, they would have done great today, but the overall market just kept selling off throughout the day. But even though that the market sold off, the airline still ended up closing pretty high. Like you said, up 3.8%. They had earnings this morning, and the EPS came in a little bit better than the estimate. It's still in the negative though, which is not good to see. But Mike, like we've been talking about for the past few days, they came out and they said that they're profiting on soaring travel demand. This is huge because it shows that people are starting to get back out. They're gonna be traveling again, and it looks like Americans are not as scared of COVID as they were previously. What was also nice, Mike, is that in this article, I saw that they are almost back up to the levels of 2019, which is just before the pandemic. So that's really good to see them getting all the way back up to there. Yeah, you can see travel revenue will be 90% recovered up to those 2019 levels. So that's a pretty cool bullet point to look at there. And Mike, I'm really happy to see the airlines doing well here, especially on such a rough day in the market. It wasn't just American. We saw Delta do well. Even Southwest, LUV, was up quite a bit today, 2.2%.
Yeah, so I know you mentioned that, like the market kind of played a role in these stocks falling off the board. Why is it that the market tanked down today?
Yeah, it was rough. Initially early in the morning, it kind of seemed like the market was just selling off with just general selling pressure. We saw lots of big stocks like Tesla pulling back. Apple was coming back to the downside. And overall, it was just crazy to see the market dropping off like this. But in the middle of the day, Powell started speaking, Mike, and this is pretty big here. He came out, he was a little bit hawkish. He said that this means that the feds could raise rates at a 50 basis point hike here in May. So that's going to be bad. And we can see that on the CME countdown to the FOMC, their target probability here for the May 4th meeting is between 75 and 100 basis points. And, it looks like a 97.6% chance of this happening is being priced in. So, Mike, this is pretty telling here. And Powell just keeps getting more hawkish. And he says that it's needed, though, to restore price stability, which I totally agree with, because as we know, inflation's just been getting crazy and it's not slowing down anytime soon.
Yeah, very true. We are set for so much volatility over like the next 2 to 3 weeks. Of course, we have all the giant earnings coming out, but then we have that FOMC meeting creeping up on us too. So lots of crazy stuff in the works, Tom, and you beat me to it. We have the earnings calendar pulled up. Tomorrow, I feel like there's not any like major events, but it definitely kicks back up on Monday and Tuesday next week.
Yeah, it does. Next week is going to be huge, guys. We're going to talk about this a ton in Sunday night's video, so keep that in mind. But even next week, Mike, like in the middle of the week, we're going to be hitting on these earnings almost every night. There's huge ones every day, so definitely keep that in mind. But tomorrow morning, there's a pretty big one, Mike. CLF, Cleveland Cliffs. I know this stock has been moving up a lot lately with inflation and everything like that, especially with the price of commodities going up. So I'm curious to see how they do on earnings. This will be a pretty decent one to look at for tomorrow. But like you said, there's not nothing too notable. Another big one tomorrow is going to be Verizon. But besides that and American Express, there's nothing too crazy.
Alrighty. And then the last thing I want to talk about is good old Twitter, Tom. So I know Elon Musk is still trying to scoop it up. Do we have any new updates with Twitter?
Yes, there was. There was actually a pretty cool filing that ended up coming out today. So we can see here that the main headline says that he's obviously going to explore a potential tender offer, and he has $46.5 billion in committed financing for the deal. And Mike, as I was reading through this, it was pretty cool to hear this. So he's secured $25.5 billion in debt financing through Morgan Stanley senior funding and other firms. Some of those other firms are Bank of America, Barclays, and you can see there's a bunch of other ones on here. But Mike, this is pretty big. You know, I know he talked about, he put something on Twitter a couple days ago that said "Love me tender," and now he's coming out with this financing here from this filing today. So this is pretty cool to see, Mike. He's getting the money together, and I'm really curious to see if he's going to pull the trigger or not. And if he does, I definitely expect Twitter stock to start moving in a big way. It's consolidating a lot down here around this $45 support. And I don't know about you, Mike, but it seems like it's just coiling here, waiting for something to happen.
Right. And let's go intraday really quickly, because I remember on Monday, the stock was initially digesting the news of the Twitter board implementing the poison pill. And I know a lot of people were expecting Twitter stock to fall, but it's been holding up just fine all week long. So it, leads me to believe that clearly there's a decent amount of buying pressure just sticking around in the stock. So I feel like we're about to see something interesting happen pretty soon.
Yeah, me too. Hopefully he does this deal sooner rather than later. I'd love to see it happen. Like I said, Twitter stock is just coiling. Seems like it's hovering right around this support. So maybe we'll see a nice pop soon. Twitter's going to have earnings pretty soon, Mike. It's going to be on April 28th, the end of next week. So definitely keep that in mind. That'll be a big earnings report to look at for next week. But yeah, the stock's going crazy, and it did very well on a day where a lot of tech stocks were down. So I'm happy to see it hold up today, 0.7%. It definitely could have been better, but given what we're seeing out of everything else, it could have been a lot worse too.
Very true. So I just want to give a giant shout out to our member of the day today, which is Sean D. Thank you so much, Sean, for being a great member and supporter of Stocked Up. Thanks for joining all of the morning live streams. It's always nice to have you on there. And then, Tom, it is now time for the momentum plays. With the first one, we have Chewy, unfortunately, to the downside.
Yeah, Chewy's kind of having a good double bottom here at the end of the day, right around 36.63. So go ahead and make him break that low of day there, right around 36.60.
All right, with the next one, we have Square also to the downside.
Yeah, Square hovering right around that 107.50 support. Go ahead and make them break below 106.45. I think that'll be a pretty good level.
All right, and with the last one, we have Baidu also to the downside.
Yeah, man, these stocks today were nuts. It seems like everything was down 5% or more. Go ahead and make Baidu break below 115.
All right, so we are watching these three stocks for potential day trades to the downside tomorrow, only if they break below the levels Tom listed. A lot of these stocks and a lot of other growth stocks got destroyed today, so be cautious watching them tomorrow morning. In the past, sometimes we see gap downs and then giant explosions up after days like we saw today. So just be cautious tomorrow morning. Tom, I also want to shout out that bot play from today. It was pretty good. We can see our hybrid bot call out the GLD 181 strike call options at $181 each, and they popped all the way up to $240 each within just a couple hours or so. So that's a 32% pop in just a couple hours. Yesterday's play popped for 18%. The day before that's play popped for 35%. And the day before that popped for 44.6% with Zoom. So if you trade options, make sure to check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. The bot's awesome. You're not going to find it anywhere else. Of course, it loses sometimes, but it's a pretty dang good tool. And like I said, you're not going to find it anywhere else. It's completely custom made. You can cancel at any time if you don't like it. And we have a coupon running. So check it out. The link for it will be in the description and the comments down below. Besides that, Tom, some of my closing thoughts are, I was looking at Snapchat in after hours here, and when we started the video, it was down huge, and then it went up a little bit, and now it's actually green. So this thing's all over the place.
Yeah, it is. Hopefully it ends up closing up above $30 tomorrow. I think that'll make for some great movement as long as it holds up there. It's been tough for them. The earnings report is really mixed. Like we said, they did well with those active users, but their revenue and EPS definitely didn't wow investors. So I'm curious to see where this one ends up. Hopefully it closes above $30. Like I said, I think that would definitely make for some nice movement. But Mike, just so many stocks were down today. It was a tough day in the market. Hopefully we can start to come back up over the next few weeks. Like a lot of these growth stocks like DraftKings, even the space stocks like RKLB, even solar plays like Enphase were down really big today, like 12%. So definitely, hopefully we see some nice movement back to the upside soon. As of right now, it looks like we're going to have to keep playing puts to the downside because this selling pressure is just getting worse and worse as rates start to rise.
Very true. So if you guys like today's video, make sure to subscribe. We have a bunch of giant things planned for the channel. So make sure to subscribe if you're new. If you trade options, make sure to check out those links in the description and the comments down below. The bot's awesome and you can cancel it anytime. And we have a coupon running. So there's no reason not to try it out. Besides that, let's have a great end to the week.